in 1979, there is a massive massacre which shook the entire world, but you wouldn't find that is Marichjhapi massacre, but you wouldn't find that much of those narratives of pain and humiliation and deaths of lower castes, Bengal, those were Dalit refugees of erstwhile undivided Bengal. They were thrown out of East Pakistan, then they were in Bangladesh technically, and then they wanted to come to Bengal and settle, but they were again heckled, and then they were massacred later on by the communists. Marichjhapi is basically an island of Sundarban, which is a very far off area of just on the river bank. Okay, so and if you look at it, if you go right now there, and you will see that on the one hand there is a West Bengal, and on the other hand there is a which is Sundarban, and on that part there is Bangladesh. So it shares. So and Marichjhapi is now has become a ghost island. After the complete killing of almost 10 to 11,000 people of Dalit refugees, lower caste refugees. So, and this has happened basically, this was done by the left front government, the first left front government, which came in power in 1977, and Jyoti Basu, upper caste man who was very cruel uh, uh, to respond to the issues of the Dalit refugees, of the lower caste refugees of Marichjhapi. So they before even they were sort of going here and there, trying to settle in a location of Bengal. So they chose, even they were negotiating with the communist government. The communist leaders, the most of the upper caste leaders, they all promised the lower caste refugees that when we come to the power, we will settle you. But when communists came to power, they just forgotten all those promises, and they started sort of taking the Marichjhapi lower caste head on. And then all of a sudden they were putting so much of pressure, creating false narratives of that they are destroying jungles and creating security issues and all. So, and then they started putting several blockades on these few on these thousands of people, lower caste people, those were kind of settled. Even though when they were coming to this area of Marichjhapi island, so there was so much of blockade. They were in the road, the childs were killed, women were thrown out, they were not given food, they wanted to agitate in the heart of Kolkata, they were not permitted, they were thrown out of the trains, running trains, and the kids, the young kids, they were thrown out. Women were thrown out of the trains when they were trying to move into West Bengal for the settlement. So it was very inhuman. It's unimaginable, blood-soaked stories. One of our very prominent journalists, Deep Haldar, has written a whole book on these oral narratives of Marichjhapi island. Those are still alive in the name of Blood Island. So it's a blood-soaked, as Deep calls it, blood-soaked history of Bengal and the whole partition era. But very unfortunately, if you look at the history books written by these Bandopadhyayas, Chattopadhyayas, Mukherjees, Banerjees, Basus, and upper castes, so they have never gone deep into this whole massacre and never told the broader public sphere what really has been done by their own castes to these lower caste Bengalis. So they have, some of them has just very slightly they have mentioned Marichjhapi, but none of them have talked that how this was a caste-based massacre. This was a caste-based butchering by these upper caste communist rulers like Jyoti Basu. There was his minister Ram Bhattacharya, communist leader Ashok Ghosh, and so on. So these, I would say, fascist communist leaders, they never had a little bit of mercy when this lower caste refugees, those are Dalit refugees, they were pleading for the settlement. Those otherwise were promised before coming to the power by these communist leaders. But all of a sudden, they were putting pressure to give in to their own kinds of political conspiracies and political fronts, but they never joined it. They all they wanted is a dignified life for them, to just leave those otherwise were used as football. From Pakistan, the Muslims have thrown out, and these are basically, most of them are very rural farmers. They were in earlier, the original places of this Marichjhapi, lower caste refugees, those who were killed, those from Faridpur, Khulna, Jasor, those are the places. Right now they are in Bangladesh. So they all were in the hope of, they were building a very good a settlement in Marichjhapi Island without the help of the government, on their own. But from 1978 onwards, these communist leaders, the communist left government, they started creating blockades, they started creating problems, they started intervening into this settlement, they started disrupting the lives and livelihood, and 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 then a final assault happened in 1979, early days. So and that's when this whole and very quickly this was actually whitened by the whole bloodied history of 1979 was whitened by the communist left fascist rulers. It wouldn't be an exaggeration to say that they were killed like the way this German concentration camp killing happened. Just like that it was, or let's say it reminds of something like Jallianwala Bagh massacre. And worse than that, in fact, worse than German, it will same Jallianwala Bagh, it will same German concentration camp, and then subsequent killings there. So Marichjhapi is a black spot, is a dark spot in the history of which was basically created by the leftist government of Jyoti Basu and his men, his cadres, the left cadres. They went into Marichjhapi Island in the police dresses, and along with the police, they also helped they took police into the island, and along with the police, they gang raped, they have sort of thrown everything out, burned the huts. Those were constructed by these poor Dalit refugees, Bengali Dalit refugees, and so on. So it's a very painful history of Bengal, which is completely erased by Bengali Brahmin upper caste academia. Those you would find full of them in maybe Jadhavpur, in JNU, in Ivy League universities, in Singapore, in Europe, everywhere. But none would say that how a left government, they took the shape of the very ugly fascist framework, and then committed a bloody assault on these helpless, stateless Dalit Bengali refugees.